again for coming. I'll see you guys for the next thing. And well, until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, stay breezy. Damn. Woo, what a week, dude. This has been amazeballs. It's been a while since I've been out. What's been happening in the real world?
Well, apparently Hitler is a very cool guy.
Hey, it's all, and welcome back to Warcraft Weekly, the show that I don't really want to do right now because I want to just kind of dive back into Dragonflight like the recluse that I've always wanted to be. But I'm here, and you're here, probably running WoW on your main screen, and I'm super jealous of that. So if you could, please like the video, subscribe for more content, and a little bit of a warning. This week is, the weekly is typically, news. It's laced with my personal commentary. However, I don't really know what the news is beyond the Dragonflight launch. I really did, pretty much lock myself in this room here. I emerged approximately 12 times between bathroom breaks and getting food, and I pretty much ignored social media. So today we're going to talk about these first few days of Dragonflight. Not Dragonflight the expansion, not Dragonflight 10.0, just the first few days. This week, World of Warcraft Dragonflight launched with the entire spectrum of reactions. My streamer privilege kicked in, enabling me and, many others to travel to the Dragon Isles just like how it looks like on the box. It felt great, and in the back of my head, I felt really bad too, because I even joked earlier that there would be there'd likely be some massive problems with the launch. I don't know, maybe the boat's not going to come, or maybe it does, but it doesn't zone people over, or maybe it tries to and it ends up dropping people to their deaths, or it sends them to this disconnect or load screen limbo sort of place. I felt so bad. Karma did kick in for me too. I had my own load screen break, but it wasn't very long and I still feel so bad. All kidding aside, obviously that stuff is Blizzard's fault. No launch is going to be perfect, but the vibe that I got was that in terms of stability, this is probably the worst launch since Warlords, which says a lot. I'd like to think that between Legion, Battle for Azeroth, and Shadowlands, WoW launches have been pretty good for the past 6 years, and Dragonflight, it's not going to get a mulligan, it's just that it didn't seem as bad as some reports were saying, and by reports I'm talking about my chat, but I guess it's the worst that we've seen in this long. When I take in everything that I've heard and I've felt so far, from the chat on my stream to fellow content creators to my guild chat, at the end of the day, Dragonflight shaped up to be more than just a big step forward in the right direction for World of Warcraft and its team. It's like turning WoW upside down. Remember just 2 years ago, we couldn't so much as call our mounts in the Maw, and we were speedrun through all these different rules that observed the 5 versions of death. And this week, we stepped into a land full of life and vibrance before taking off to the skies like an hour later. After the disconnects and the power outages, Shadowlands' high concept of death is behind us, and in front of us is something new and familiar with, dragons. We got old and new characters, we got fresh ideas and loose threads to be tied up. It's introduced in each zone with this, this fresh and welcoming atmosphere that's consistent in each zone, even though the biomes, which flow pretty nicely, can feel like we're stepping into yet another world. Stepping into the Dragon Isles is sort of like stepping into a WoW expansion in its second patch, only you've got to, level 2. By that, I mean the bones of endgame, from reputation to professions, start building up right away. We often say in World of Warcraft that the game begins at max level, and that's true in a lot of cases, it really is. Reflexively, folks like myself will push through questing and leveling and get into endgame so we can gear up and make the most gold and so on. The bleeding edge is still there. But in Dragonflight, you don't have to be at max level to get access to the fun stuff. Professions, flying, even the rep grind. Working at those will eventually get you to 70, but you don't have to be 70 to start working on them, especially if you're on an alt. It makes for a much more relaxed experience. I guess I'm just saying that the initial presentation of Dragonflight in these first couple days is really, really good. But it's not without its hiccups or its problems. Let's set aside the server flubs and the bugs and the lack of the alchemy research, if that's still going on, and we'll talk up some more immediate complaints that don't quite have easy fixes. First, let's talk about professions. Now, I like them a ton. I've talked them up. Many other creators have talked them up. The WoW team created this really lengthy blog detailing what to expect, and yet, the predictable happened. People got confused. Totally expected. I mean, after all, this is a massive overhaul that challenges players to kind of rethink their needs, and also there are lessons for Blizzard to learn here, many of which will manifest over the next few weeks and months. First, people were expecting crafting orders to be flooded with requests, only to have it be drained by bots and snipers. Kind of turns out that crafting orders have been pretty barren while being drained by bots and snipers. Reason why, and remember, we're not even at a full week of Dragonflight yet, people are still leveling up their characters, leveling up their professions, and early on, everyone is learning the same few things, meaning tons of people are ready and able to make basic profession tools and basic gear for each other. It's gonna be a while before we start seeing alts sitting on a bunch of Titan training matrixy things that they've masked up during world quests, or getting a handful of those sparks of ingenuity. With stuff like that readily accessible at max level, it'll be an easy decision for those characters to quickly gear their alt by getting some materials together and then looking at us to, well, almost literally deliver them gear. More importantly, characters are going to have more precise and high-level needs that only people who have fully spec'd into are able to provide. Like, for example, ladies and gentlemen, how would you like to have your very own set of epic bracers with a flamethrower attachment? How about an epic PvP helmet or a shield made by that one famous player who's obsessed with maxing out shield crafting? Just send your materials and requests over to Soulsodreezy at Bleeding Hollow, and I will have them made for you at no additional cost, because I really want them skill points. The point is that early on, a lot of crafters are just gonna suck at what they do. Their skills are just too low. Their renown just isn't high enough to access some recipes, and well, you can bet that some of those people are absolutely farming their faces off in order to be the kind of crafter who can provide something unique. Speaking of, let's talk about PvP gearing. I have to admit that I underestimated just how impactful PvP gearing during the preseason was going to be in Dragonflight. And I'll explain this very simply. At max level, your average character's item level is going to be somewhere around the 320 or 330 range. PvP gear itself seems weak, but in PvP situations, as in battlegrounds and arenas, the item level skyrockets to around 400 to 410 item level. So here's what happened because of this. Folks raced to 70 and then PvP'd as hard as they could to get honor gear, so that within about a day or so, other new players coming in with their 330 item level were just walking into these battlegrounds against 400s. It resulted in this ritual slaughter. Now, there is crafted PvP gear that players can put on before walking into a battleground at all, but how is that stuff made? It's made with materials farmed from PvP or bought from the auction house. And how are those PvP gear recipes earned? Randomly through PvP, or again, sold through the auction house. So in this case, early PvPers were walking all over the not-so-latecomers for easy wins, and they could sell these recipes and the gear. We can go further and say that this turned into a sort of pay-to-win scheme, because it prompted some of these players, like me, to buy WoW tokens, which I didn't do, to buy basic PvP gear, but that's a different debate altogether. The point is that the WoW team didn't quite comprehend what was inevitably gonna happen. In hindsight, maybe temporarily nerfing PvP item level by 20 or 25 during the preseason only wouldn't have been so bad. The highest item level attainable from PvE content is roughly 380, which still would have been a meat grinder for new people, but it wouldn't be this bad. Maybe that's not the best solution, but whatever the case, while this will eventually settle down and even out, I'm gonna say that this is a screw up on Blizzard's part. That kind of experience brings a person's excitement for a new expansion to a pretty violent halt. But as of this recording, Dragonflight has only been out for 100 hours or so. As soon as the first reset comes, we're going to be in a fresh news cycle. Dragonflight's still in its launch phase, and I think that when we take a step back, there are good reasons to be cautiously optimistic for what's to come. So that's going to be the show, because I'm a punk and I'm super eager to dive back into the game. But I want this weekly to be about you, the viewer. I want you to share what your experience has been like, and also to read what others has been like. The good, the bad, the misplaced expectations, and the exciting surprises. It sounds like a cop-out, I know, but your collective responses, that's what really sums up to just how this launch has gone. It's a mixed bag, but we look at it through any number of angles based on our playstyle, our preferences, our class, our professions, and so much more. So I want to thank the many of you who showed their support during this launch by dropping by Twitch to give subscriptions, by hanging out while waiting for that Feldrake mount thing, and letting me keep you company. And by the way, the Ichabod Pet promo thing is still going on until the end of the preseason, so that's the end of day of December 12th. If you give 2 subscriptions to participating streamers, you're gonna get a code for a pet, simple as that. More than ever, you folks got me into the stream side of this content creation thing, and I hope to see more of you in the weeks and months to come. But don't worry, I ain't leaving YouTube anytime soon. Now, we also can't forget our awesome patrons too, including newcomer Kaldris. Thank you very much, and we can't forget about you, viewer, for making it to the end. Next week, the preseason continues, and while our needs may vary, I'm getting pretty close to putting together a little tune to help you along each week on our adventures in the Dragon Isles. So please like the video, subscribe for more content, catch me on stream in the mornings, at least for now, and well, look forward to the next thing. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.